In this video, traders, we're going to look at, is scalping still profitable? Stay tuned. Hey guys, warm welcome to you. So, is scalping still profitable in this day and age? With the invention of high frequency trading, with all the advantages of technology from our side, a retail side, is it still profitable and is it still a lucrative strategy? Those of you who know my background know that I was a demon scalper 2006, well probably actually 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all those years. Crude oil, DAX are my main things. I was hammering those things day in, day out. Now I'm far less active, far more selective, far more cautious and less glued to the screen. Suits me now. Back then it suited me perfectly. So the question is scalping still profitable in 2019? Let's look at the evidence. So the good thing about now compared to, let's say, however more like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, is that spreads are really, really tight. Okay, spreads great. You can trade, a currency pair spread for less than a pip. Even the indices, indices are actually cheaper often to trade via a CFD or a spread bet than they are going direct on the exchange. But direct on the exchange, again, spreads are tight. And ultimately, guys, the thing to remember is that you really want something that's got a decent move compared to the spread. So if the spread's a tick or one pip, you want 200 ticks move over the day to get the meat out of it. What you don't want is the spread's a pip and only moves 30. That's no point in scalping. That's a harder thing to do. Now, by the way, let's just define scalping. There's a couple of ways of scalping. One is kind of trading on the order book either side and playing that game. The other is that I define as scalping really is kind of going for 10 pips, maybe less, that kind of thing, grabbing it, moving on, grabbing it, moving on, trying to do that multiple times a day to accumulate your 100 pips in a day, 10 trades, 10 pips a day, you're happy with the day. That's the kind of thing that I consider as scalping. There's multiple definitions out there. There's not an official definition, but for me, that's what it is. And it probably is for you as well. So spreads, great. And also, as markets get higher in price, this is why crude oil's good when it's high priced, is that the spread becomes irrelevant compared to how big the moves can be. If you're trading something where the spread is quite big compared to the move, you're struggling. It's like I never felt the S&P 500 was a good vehicle for me to trade because I didn't like the fact that it's a queue in the order book. And that's the other. I prefer to try and trade the DAX, which is much more spicy, crude oil when it was spicy, and the Dow as well, because they were spicy. And if you were scalping, that made much more sense. Of course, if you're swing trading, then it becomes more relevant of what's going on. So the spreads are great. What about technology? Well, technology is really on our side now, because before you didn't know if you had a fill or not. It kind of took so long to get an order fill. If you're trading actively, sometimes it would go to a dealer to be filled. Now, that's all bypassed. Orders go in straight away, you get an instant fill, you get an instant kind of notification back, the ticket goes in your blotter, you're away. You can be in and out within 10 seconds or so with a deal, in a second, out in a couple of seconds, and so it's perfectly suitable for that. So those are the pros of it. Now, what about the cons? We could look at maybe HFT. Now, the problem with HFT is the high frequency trading. This is diminishing a little bit. This was kind of really 2 or 3 years ago, it was really at its peak, maybe a bit more than that, really at its peak. And this is in terms of stocks, US stocks specifically, but that made scalping very difficult because they were front running your orders. If you're going in trying to grab the offer, for example, they would front run you, pull that offer away, you end up paying more. And so that ended up making a negative expectancy with the scalping. That's diminished quite a bit now, but that only also applies for equity. If you're trading kind of currencies, FX via a spread bet or CFD or spot, well, that's irrelevant. So we're kind of still okay here unless we're kind of going into the realm of trading actually on the exchange, or if we're trading scalping equities in via a spread bet or a CFD. Now, one thing to say with that is that if you're trading something that's reasonably active and liquid, like Tesla, like Apple, like one of those, you're probably okay because you want volatility. The spread is reasonably wide on those, but the volatility kind of makes up for it. Maybe it's 15-cent spread, but the things move in, multiple dollars in the day, 10, 15, $20 or whatever in the day. So, well, that might be a bit extreme, but you get the point. The kind of spread is still relatively small compared to how much the stock is moving. So you could still trade that, but I think we're still kind of leaning towards maybe the indices, the currencies, some of the commodities. Asking that question, is it still profitable? So far the answer's Yes, because we've got the spread is quite low, we've got the technology there as well. Got the issue coming in with ESMA in terms of the spread bet and CFD, which makes it a little bit harder to trade size. But if you're scalping, generally you're only in one trade at a time anyway, so it's not like swing trading where you have the difficulty now where, okay, well I've only got this much to allocate capital, I need to be a bit more cautious about how I allocate capital. Scalping, as long as you've got that money in to cover that trade, you're fine. So what else is there that might make it challenging? The markets are a little bit different. They're a little bit more whippy in terms of, you get these spikes that come down. It's a little bit less clean, I'd say, potentially, but that's changing. We're coming to phases where we're getting massive bear runs and massive bull runs, and that makes it easier for a scalper because once you're on it, you can kind of hold it as much as you dare until the first little pullback. That's really the scalper strategy. You spot that change in momentum, you jump on it, and you ride it until you see the first kind of counter, and then you come out. And if that's running kind of 30 ticks before it pulls back, then great. If it runs 10, that's fine. It's not so good if it's running like 2 or 3, pulling back 2 or 3, up 5, back 3. That's not a scalper's environment because that becomes challenging to read that. What you want is those explosions, small pauses, explosions, small pauses. If it goes against you, that's fine, but as long as it's going a decent chunk for you, then that's good. So the markets are a little bit challenging in certain circumstances, but if you pick your spot, it's still there. So we're okay with the markets, I think. I'll just put MKT, we know what we're talking about. We're okay with the markets, as long as we're careful about what we're trading. We're not getting involved in the markets that are too quiet, because that's a scalper's kind of nightmare. Something that's quiet, plodding along. There's no real volatility there. It's very tricky. It's like trading over a lunchtime period on a normal day. Very challenging, very hard environment to trade. You want that explosive when they open, that kind of stuff coming to the close. That's where the juice is with a scalper. So we're looking pretty good. It's still profitable. Now, the one thing that makes scalping challenging, has done for years ago and it will do now, is that to make scalping profitable, you have to have the best discipline in the world. In other words, if the market goes against you, you need to be absolutely ruthless and cut it. And I actually sometimes recommend that, swing traders even try scalping to flex the discipline muscles, because if you don't cut that trade as soon as it goes against you, you are dead. Because you do that too many times, you've completely negated, you've got a negative expectancy. If you're not cutting it, 6 pips, 10 pips, whatever it may be, depending on the magnitude of the kind of vehicle you're trading, if you hold on to it a little bit longer and you hesitate even for a second, you could double your loss. And as soon as you're doubling the loss, you're reducing the profitability of the deal. You've got to cut it and be prepared to then go back in your direction. It's really, really pressure on your emotions with scalping, because you've got the frustration potentially of like coming out literally to the tick and then exploding off. You've got the frustration of multiple losers in a row, trying to catch something that doesn't work out. And then you've got that kind of the euphoria of just seemingly taking money out the market. So it really swings you from high to low. So you've got to have iron discipline, got to have good control of your emotions. Like I say, good kind of training ground potentially for people who perhaps haven't got the discipline that they want to have in trading. But it really does kind of push on each of those emotions. If you can master that, if you can be quick, if you can execute effectively, and most importantly, not get caught up in adding to positions, not get caught up in holding positions that go against you, being ruthless, being ruthlessly efficient with discipline, having a good strategy and kind of finding where you think those turning points are. And generally scalping, you aren't chasing, you are fading moves that come to you, you're grabbing it, you're getting the pot back, that kind of stuff. If you can do that, if you can have the strategy and the emotion, and you have the ability to trade when there is an edge, i.e. the volatility is there that suits the conditions and suits your strategy, then yes, scalping can still be profitable in 2019 and beyond, because it's good for technology. If, however, you're lacking in those things, then far better to trade on a slower time frame, swing trading, position trading, ease that emotional stress. Don't give yourself all that massive cognitive load that comes with scalping, and trade from that perspective. But if you want to try scalping, give it a shot. Let me know, get on really, really small size, just really, really cautious with that, because it can, like I say, it can be a kind of vicious cycle of emotion. But if you can grasp it and it works for you, then thumbs up to you, great. If not, then there's always swing trading out there. There's plenty of things for everyone out there, guys. All right, is scalping still profitable in this day and age, 2019? Take care, bye-bye.